Something unique about the map screen compared to Super Mario World is that if you keep on holding down the direction that you're going, you'll be able to keep on moving instead of stopping. Because in Super Mario World, you went across a path to a level, and then you were forced to stop before you tried to move to another path. So it's very unintuitive, but it is something really nice that helps streamline it. One of the things that I haven't talked about yet with this game is screen switching. Because you probably noticed that I'm showing off both screens at once when I'm going through levels. Now see, when I first played this game, I didn't really like the screen switching all that much because it feels completely unintuitive when exactly you switch from one screen to the next. Because Sonic goes down all the time, but that doesn't always guarantee that he's going to go down to the bottom screen. And he goes up all the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go up to the top screen. So, really the only way that you can get an instinct for when Sonic's going to switch screens is by beating the level. Because once you beat the level, you've already developed an instinct for when it's going to bring you from one screen to the next. I don't feel like that's good game design. I don't feel like it should be that trial and error. I don't know, when I first played this game, it took a little bit for me to get used to the fact that I was constantly going from one screen to the next. This reminds me of Casino Paradise Zone. It's a nice gimmick, I suppose. It looks nice. Like, this level introduces a lot of gimmicks to make it look like it's all different from the other acts. But to be honest, a lot of the gimmicks of this level aren't really that gameplay changing at all. Except for this one. Who the hell thought that this was a good idea? Trapping you in one room, forcing you to constantly fight enemies in order to get out of it. I mean, at least there's a countdown to show you exactly how many enemies you always have left. And it is really satisfying spin dashing through the enemies. Like, I used to assume that the spin dash didn't exist in this game, but when I played the game I realized that it did, and it can be useful in the combat rooms. But you shouldn't have combat rooms to begin with. You shouldn't have enemies that you have to attack multiple times in order to kill. Especially not in a 2D Sonic game. Like, the whole reason that they made enemies take only one hit to kill in the first place was because it kept the fast pace going, because you only had to jump into them once. In this game, there's a few enemies that you have to jump into multiple times, and that just slows down the pace tremendously. You have to wait until after he slams his axe into the ground, and only then are you able to attack him without any consequences. But it's just like, look at this. I considered playing the Werehog music every single time that I got into a combat room in this game. But I decided against it because this happens so often that it would get old fast. I do like those things a lot more as a method of going from the higher route. I like those things a lot more as a method from going to the lower route to the higher route than hitting the spring. Because if you boost into those things and they just send you to the next area. It's not like with the springs, where you go into the springs, and then you instantly have to change the direction that you're holding. But this is really a section that shouldn't be in a Sonic game, because look at this. How is this in any way suited to a Sonic game? You're just standing there, waiting for the level to progress. And at the very end of this section, you're expected to instantly react in a split second to the fact that it's bringing you up to a spring that you have to jump to. And I died the first time that happened, and I was forced to do this entire thing again. That is really dickish. Like, why is it that because of the horizontal screen crunch, you're not gonna know that the spring's coming up. So, it's like, if I didn't know that the spring was coming up, then I wouldn't have jumped in time. And so I would have had to do the entire thing all over again. I don't really like Mirage Road. I mean, it can be fun. It's got a lot of fast parts to it. I really don't like the way that Sonic is dancing on the victory screen and is extremely polygonal model straight out of the N64. Like, to be honest, I'll go out and say right now, I think that Sonic Advance 3 and the other Advance games, they look a lot better than this game does, because, I mean, sure, the environments look pretty nice, but Sonic as a polygonal model, and, well, the DS basically has N64 graphics, and to be honest, I think that the GBA graphics look a lot better than the N64 graphics. I think they've aged better, so that's a minor nitpick. I think Mirage Road has the potential to be a great level because it's got a lot of fast sections, and there aren't that many bottomless pits. But again, it has so many combat rooms. Like, I can understand why they ended up implementing the Werehog, because that's essentially what this is. Like, you spin dash into a spring, and it sends you upwards, just like in Sonic Advance 2. And this can really screw you over in some of the combat rooms, because you sprint dash into a spring, and suddenly you're not in ball form anymore. So, suddenly you'll get to an enemy, and you'll get hit by it. When you look at the boost meter, when you first start out the game, it's not very intuitive how close it is to being full. Like, it goes from blue to yellow to red. And when it's completely red, and especially when it's flashing, that's when you know that you have maximum boost. But I didn't think that was very intuitive when I first started out the game. Like, I would have preferred it if they had it where there was a horizontal line on the boost meter, and you had to fill it up enough that the boost energy passed by that horizontal line. And that was how you knew that you had enough boost. I think that would have made a lot more sense for me when I first started out the game. And something that annoys me about the boost meter, aside from the fact that you don't get boost energy from hitting rings, is that it drains automatically. Like, I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. The boost meter should only drain when you're boosting. It doesn't make any sense for it to drain automatically. Because it's supposed to drain as a punishment for boosting. Like, why is it punishing you for not boosting? So you get boost in this game by doing tricks, but you also get boost by damaging enemies. Which is good, because it makes sense that when you damage enemies and defeat them, that maybe Sonic is taking their electricity for himself, and so he's using that to power his boost. Like, he's robbing the robots of their energy, and so he's using that to power up himself. But what doesn't make any sense is how exactly doing tricks gets them more boost energy, because he's exerting energy in order to flail around the air a whole bunch unnecessarily. Why is that getting him more boost energy? That doesn't really make any sense. That's part of why I vastly prefer the fact that in the 3D Sonic games, in order to get more boost energy, you just collect rings. That's it. They simplified it, and they made it a lot better as a result. Because in the 3D boost games, you can actually focus on the fact that you're going fast rather than just constantly button mashing, and like that's all you're focusing on. I always hate when the special stage forces you to swipe the stylus back and forth to collect rings between spike balls, because it requires very specific timing. But yeah, like, I had a lot of trouble getting used to this game when I first played it. And there's no tutorial anywhere. Well, that's what I thought when I first played the game. Apparently, there's a tutorial hidden in the options menu. But I don't know how you're supposed to know that, because I looked in the options menu when I first started the game, and I couldn't find any tutorial of the sort. So I had to literally look up a guide in order to find out how I was supposed to play the game. I don't think that's very good design. What's also bad design is that you have to step on these switches in order to make rings appear, even though they should be there to begin with. Yep, this special stage is bad, alright. Thankfully, you can still go into them again after you mess up, but only if you have enough boost at the time. So if you don't have enough boost, which you'll only find out after wasting all of your boosts, then you're gonna have to go get more, and that's only gonna happen if you happen to be in a part of the level design where you can easily get more boost energy. And thankfully I was at the time. Yeah, this is a pretty difficult special stage. Like, this is the first instance of a special stage where it really isn't properly designed for the fact that you're moving with a stylus and are not able to jump. Like, there's enemies in your way, and when you hit the enemies, they give you rings, but they give you a really tiny amount of them. You really would expect them to give you more rings than that, considering you're sacrificing getting rings to attack them. Like, there should be a greater reward for defeating the enemies than just a few rings. I mean, I like the dash pads because when you hit them, you're going in a completely scripted path, and so you're guaranteed to get all the rings on that scripted path. But other than that, like, I don't know. Something I like about the special stage is that when you tap the stylus, like when you tap the stylus at a certain part of the special stage, Sonic will practically instantly teleport over to it. So that's a good way to very quickly get Sonic from one part of the special stage floor to the next. But that's not entirely intuitive. I think part of the reason that they have screen switching is because it's trying to fix the problem of vertical screen crunch. But the problem is that it doesn't actually do that. Because you see, there is part of the level between the two screens. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. I don't know why they decided to program parts of the level between the two screens that you can't possibly see. So this means that there's still vertical screen crunch to the exact same extent that there was in the previous games. Like say that there's a crusher block that's between the two screens. You're still gonna be just as much in danger of being crushed by it. And to be honest, I got crushed by crusher blocks more in one level of this game than I did in the entirety of Advance 3. I don't know why this section is in a Sonic game. Like, this is basically a 90s beat 'em up section. You're always facing left or right, but you can only... like, you can jump around to land on enemies, so it's better than Sonic Battle, where you're facing left and right, and you attack left and right. So, you have to make sure that your opponent is to the left or right of you, and that's the only way you can attack them. But yeah, this is an extremely boring part of the level. Like, all you're doing is just waiting on the left side of the screen. And, like, you can attack the enemies if you want, but it's easy to just wait until you're at the goal ring. And you have to specifically walk into the goal ring in order to activate it. Like, for a game as fast-paced as this, where you're constantly running forwards, I think it would have been better designed to do what Sonic Advance 2 did, where you land on a floor, and that automatically ends the level. I don't like having to go back and hit the goal ring. I found this boss to be extremely unintuitive when I first played it. Like, I literally spent over a minute here not knowing what I was supposed to do. Because every boss fight before this point had the same strategy. You would wait around, dodging its attacks and stuff, and then it would expose its weak point and you jump into it. But this boss doesn't seem to have a weak spot, so I literally had to look up a guide to find out what I was supposed to do. Apparently, you're supposed to go away from the boss for long enough so that the boss turns around. Because only when it's turned around can you jump into the spike ball to send it at it. After that, then you'll be able to send the ball towards the back of the boss, which is the weak spot. The problem is that it's completely random when the spikes will come out. They come out so quickly that by the time that they come out, you probably already jumped into it. They don't give you enough time to react. When I first played this boss, I didn't find it fun at all. And I don't find it very fun now. And sometimes the boss will actually jump over the ball after you send it at it. And so it pads out the boss even more by forcing you to jump into the ball yet again. And when you do that, when it jumps over it, then you have to instantly jump again as soon as you land on the floor. It also loves to waste your time with this. Like, these things are extremely easy to dodge. You're literally just running around in circles. Like, this boss fight took me 4.5 minutes when I first played it. And granted, like, half of that was spent with me not knowing what I was supposed to do. But that's a bad, like, it took me 4.5 minutes when I first played it, and I got a C rank. It's like they expected you to take 4.5 minutes to beat it, because C rank is the average rank that the average player is expected to get. It really goes to show you how badly designed these boss fights are, when you can take 4.5 minutes on it, and they'll still give you an average rank. And again, I hate those spikes. Why does there have to be spikes there? Why can't you just jump into it anytime you want? Why does this boss fight have to drag out for so long? And again, if I was playing on normal mode, the boss fights would take even longer. And easy mode doesn't really change any of the strategies at all. Literally all it does is make it so that you have to take 6 hits. You have to take 6 hits instead of just, look! Like, I didn't jump right away, so it hit me. Like, you have to jump the instant you land on the ground again, or else it'll hit. As for the music of the boss fights, it doesn't really suit a boss now, does it? There's a reason I'm playing the final boss music of Sonic CD. I feel like it suits a boss more, especially a boss that takes as long as this. But yeah, I don't really like the bosses in this game very much. They're too padded out, and I can see why Sonic 06 has boss fights like that, where you just constantly wait around dodging attacks and wait for your opportunity to attack. Because that's basically what these boss fights are. And so the boss fights in 06 were just a natural extension of that, because in 06 you just waited around for an opportunity to attack. But yeah, he jumps over it, and you have to immediately jump in the opposite direction when you land, so that you can jump into it again. You can skip cutscenes in this game, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the cutscenes in the game you can't skip. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Like, the plot of this game isn't very compelling to begin with, so that's really a discouragement to playing the game again, because you gotta constantly mash the A button through this text. I don't know why Sonic thought that Eggman Nega was just a disguised Eggman when he first saw him. Because there's really no reason for Eggman to be disguising himself. The town? In Blaze's story, there's no mention of Blaze going to a town with Cream and being introduced to Sonic's world through the town. It's not like they went to Station Square to get ice cream or anything.